Seen here with a discussion about Lord Skrolk in Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires, and he might be just the best Plague Legendary Lord in the entire game, and the true Lord and Master of Lustria. Whether or not you actually want to invest in a Lustrian campaign is a discussion, but it's quite interesting to think of the fact that Lord Skrolk ends up being really, really good in terms of dealing with the situation over here. There are a couple of reasons behind that. One of the fundamental ones is that Skaven have stock stats, and the jungle, especially, is really good for ambushing. So, whenever you're playing a campaign as Skrolk, or any campaign where you have stock stats and you end up in Lustria, just being able to have that near 100% ambush success chance is a ridiculous benefit. But there is more, because Skaven also have tunneling. And due to the jungle climate in itself, being able to tunnel underneath locations and bypass strong points is a huge benefit in your campaign. For instance, over here in this campaign, I took out Tenowin, and then I used the underweight to go over here in the Southern Sentinels. They're still alive because I let them be alive, because I considered it a bigger priority to deal with some other things like the Cult of Sotek, getting an alliance with Rakarth, which is another aspect that is kind of ridiculous about Lord Skrolk, because Rakarth has tons of money, and you can take settlements that you don't really care too much about and just trade them to him. But those are just Skaven things, Skaven being Skaven. What makes Lord Skrolk stand out is he has a 15% chance of a plague spreading for all future plagues. And plagues bolster your armies and your settlements, as well as construction cost, as well as right cooldown minus 15 turns for the Pestilence scheme. Now, the Pestilence scheme is available to everyone, but you do it every 15 turns. And that, well, let's just say that ends up being a pretty damn sizable benefit when you're thinking about your campaign situation. Because it is the Pestilence scheme that really puts Lord Skrolk above everyone else, really, in terms of plagues. What do we get for it? We get Virgo loss reduction minus 50% for Plague Monks, Plague Census Bearers, Plague Priests, and Plague Claw Catapults. Casualty replenishment rate, leadership +8, frenzy, growth 25, construction time minus 33%. So by a third, and income from all buildings increased by 15%. That is ridiculous. It means you can construct buildings much faster than any other Skaven legendary lord, which is in itself a fairly huge advantage by just maintaining the plague. And make no mistake, the plague is here to stay, but here's where it gets even crazier when you think about it. Sorry about that flashing tooltip. Here's where it gets a bit crazier. Every time this plague spreads, and the Skaven plagues do have a significant tendency to spread, maybe not as much as I would want, but even though AI armies are unlikely to take as much damage as you might want, they will still take some level of damage. And this will also reduce their leadership, especially useful if you're going to be dealing with some of the annoying benefits that Tenowin has. So if you want to take your time to build up that plague, go ahead. Or in this case, set up an ambush against Gorak, because he is going to take that bait in that specific ambush. Though, again, sometimes it is just ridiculous how many benefits you can get with regards to this plague and how much it hurts the AI. And here's the thing. The Skaven plague usually can and does backfire against you. But when you're playing Lord Skrolk, you kind of want it to be spread as much as possible. Like, have it on settlements, have it on armies, have it on enemy settlements, have it on enemy armies. It is ideal for this thing to spread. It would be best if it didn't spread to allied factions, but then again, who actually cares about that specific situation, because we're Skaven. On top of that, you can take the Sentinel time and instantly turn it into a tier 3 settlement and start getting things like Warlock Engineers. If you want Plague Priests and Plague Monks, that's also available. You do start with the tier 1 barracks and you can get Chieftains from that. So a lot of Skaven heroes are also available in this campaign pretty early on. Furthermore, while his skill line is not necessarily something to write home about, you do get a leadership benefit against lizardmen, because you'll be fighting quite a few of them, as well as reducing the amount of casualties suffered from attrition, since you will almost certainly be fighting Tanoin. Then we consider his faction, his Lord special skill line. He gets Plague Priest recruitment in all provinces. Pretty damn big deal. As well as hero capacity +2 for Plague Priest. And Plague Priest can also increase capacity, I believe it is, through ancillaries. So could be wrong on that. But essentially, you end up in this kind of situation where you can get a lot of Plague Priests and just make a hero stack. What's up with Plague factions and hero stacks? It feels like all of them, really, all of them. Because you look at, well, minus Festus perhaps, well, the Nurgle factions, Festus obviously is more about building an army and vassals, but he still can get a good amount of heroes, because Warriors of Chaos have a good amount of heroes, and Regiments Renown. But it's kind of a weird thing. But outside of that, yeah, the special skill line is not really that special, but Plague Lord is not something to sneeze about, nor is necessarily Envoy of the Council. And then you cause terror on your opponents. Pestilent Breath, as well as this entire plague lore right here, is not really the best. But when you're playing this, when you're playing the Skaven spells of plague, it's more about the benefits that you have from the plague in Lord Scroll's campaign. And that's really ultimately what you're going to benefit from the most in battle. You might laugh at the notion of leadership being reduced by that much, having as much of an impact. But here's the thing. If we look at the AI stats modifier, you can see that the highest level is +8. So you're nullifying the highest level. You're nullifying anything with regards to siege benefits or close to it. Siege is 10. So you're very, very close to nullifying the kind of benefit that AI gets in terms of siege battles. And then their armies are also taking attrition. Yeah, the tooltip there could be fixed a bit. It is just annoying. And further, since Lustria is slow to navigate, and the plagues will definitely spread faster than armies can move, then you're just kind of screwing over your opponents. If you're playing a campaign against Lord Skrolk, you kind of want to take him out as quickly as possible, because if he gets the plague out, doesn't matter who we're talking about, if he gets the plague out, you're kind of screwed. In fact, you could be playing a campaign as Call-Taker, and you still want him to just be wiped out or not be a nuisance, because that plague definitely will be. Obviously, you won't suffer as much because you won't be fighting him if you're playing Skull-Taker, unless you deliberately want to. But still, it is annoying to have to deal with Lord Skrolk. And that's why he's actually a lot better as a Skaven Legendary Lord than a lot of people give him credit for. I think he's always been undermined by the presence of Quick Headtaker, and then, of course, we had Ikklaw. And I guess we could say that he never was undermined by Tretch Craventail, though I guess with Tretch, it's always that meme factor that worked in Tretch's favor that didn't quite occur with Lord Skrolk. That's all I had to say. Costin signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and I'll see you boys and girls on the next one.